Welcome to a Trucker's Mind podcast. I'm Eddie McGee.
It's your boy K Fings.
And we're back, man. Episode 188.
Yes, sir.
Man, we're getting close to 200, man. It's creeping up. Before the year's up, we'll be right under 200 episodes.
Really?
That's unless we put the pedal to the metal and give the people some extra.
Some more episodes.
So we get to 200 before the year.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be pretty cool, man. 200 episodes by the end of the year. That's a lot of content.
Yeah.
Jeez. But enough about us. Let's get into the fucking episode, man. All right? Let's get right into it. Paying it forward. Last night, I was very hungry. So I decided to stop into the local neighborhood Wendy's and to get that 4 for $4. And by the time I pulled up to the window, they told me, "Here's your food, sir. The person in front of you paid for your meal." I was just like, what? Like, I was just like taking, because that's never happened to me in life, ever. Now, I've been out with people before and they said, "Hey, I'll pay for your food." That's different than a person that you don't know that already drove off that decided to pay for your food.
Yeah.
And I was just like kind of like taken back by it. And the employees inside were smiling and laughing like, "Yeah, she said that she paid for your food." And I was just like, wow, like it just made me feel good. Like, human kindness is so underrated. And when I got my food and when they gave me the food, I like kind of low key waited for a second because there was nobody behind me, and I was gonna wait for them to order, and I'd be like, so I could pay for their shit, so they could feel the way that I felt, you know. And I know people are gonna listen to this and be like, "Yo, that's corny. You just got a free burger. Who cares?" And it's like, that shit matters, man. You don't know what people are going through. They might have lost their faith in humanity, and just by doing something simple as giving them, a 4 for $4, or you could upgrade to that biggie bag for $5,
Yeah.
They might, you don't know, they could be going through a dark time in their life, and getting them a burger could put a smile on their face.
Yeah. I think that's, obviously on the receiving end of that, it's an amazing feeling too. And they did you a favor by, making your day in a sense, and then also saving you a little bit of money. But even in those situations where that person is probably in more need of it than you are, or
right? They
may have scraped together some change to get some burgers for their kids or whatever. They may not be in the best financial position, and they just kind of, had to do something to feed their kids. And then even in those cases, it's still like an amazing thing to do.
Yeah. The thing is, though, is if you was to ask, like, tell a homeless person, you be like, hey, what you want, man? They'll probably be real distinct. Number 3, pickles, lettuce, no cheese. Add the. You be like, damn, nigga.
Yeah.
Nah, but I think what I'm gonna do. I told Keith this before the podcast. I'm gonna start scoping out people. Like, I'm gonna look through my rearview mirror and imagine if it's the summertime and the windows are down. Maybe her AC is out in the car, and she's having a hard time with her kids and whatnot. I'm gonna ask them like, "Yo, how much is that order behind me?" If they're like, "It's 19, whatever," I'm just like, "Here, just pay for it." And then by the time that woman gets up to get her food, she might have not an emotional breakdown, but like an emotional reaction. Because she's probably going through a lot. The AC's not working, the kids are hungry, this, that, and the third.
Yeah.
You never know, man. Like that's something that I feel we should pass on. So the next time I'm in line, I promise I'm going to do it.
I think the thing with that too, a lot of people are very pessimistic.
Yes.
So it's some people that just have zero faith in humanity. Like, the world is bad. We have, politicians and everybody is screwed up. Just kind of maybe just a person that consumes a little bit too much news. But when those things happen, it kind of restores their faith in humanity a little bit. Like,
Oh my God.
What?
I just thought about it, bro. I swear on my life, on God. Yesterday, before I went to the gym, there was this older black dude. And he had a GMC truck. It was parked in the corner. And he came up, he said, "Hey, man, do you know if you got a couple bucks so I could put it in my truck, man?" I was like, "Yeah, pull up to the pump. I'll hook you up." He's like, "I can't make it to the pump. I ran out." I was like, "Shit, for reals?" And he had like a red gas can, like just it was only like a 1-gallon gas can. And I said, "Hey, I'm about to put gas in my car. Just bring the gas can over and I'm going to hook you up." So then I put some gas in there and he's like, "Thank you, man. I appreciate it." And as he was walking off, I stopped him. I said, "Hey, matter of fact, come back, please." And I gave him some money. I gave him, I think, like $7 or something. He's like, nah, I'm good. I'll make it with this. And I asked him where he was going. I said, you ain't making it over there with that. So take this. So I gave him like $7 or $8 or something. And then I went to the car wash, went to the gym like it was nothing. And then later that night, I get a free meal. This is the same day, bro.
The energy in it, yeah.
I put that on my life. I forgot about when I helped that person. And by the way, in no shape or form am I saying that paying it forward is this concurrent. Where you do something and it happens right there. But I just thought about it right now. I'm like, yo, I helped this person. But I do shit like that all the time.
You don't even think about it.
I don't even give a fuck. I'm like, yeah. I feel like in a way, I feel like the Lord has blessed me enough to where if I'm fortunate to have and someone doesn't have, then fucking help them out.
Yeah. It's the same conversation we were having about like when the dude, the girl, she made a YouTube video or TikTok or whatever when she asked her boyfriend to help her pay some bill or whatever the case. And with our conversation there was like, yo, it's just money. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, like you can't take this with you when you're gone.
Right.
So, and it's just paper or, know, digital currency, whatever the case may be. So,
especially like if I care about you, you don't have to be my girlfriend. If I care about you and you literally ask me and I know you don't ask me, then you must really need it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, you're good. You wanted it in cash. And then he just said, how you want me to send it to you? That's the first thing he said. You wanted Venmo? You want me to send
he's going to pay you back?
Huh?
He was gonna pay you back.
No,
you're talking about the girl.
Talking about the girl.
The girl and the boyfriend. Yeah.
He jumped right to how do you want it? You want me to send it to you in Venmo or cash? He didn't ask no questions. He didn't say nothing. And it's like at the end of the day, especially if I care about you, you're a friend or you're my girlfriend, I want to see you happy as a person.
Yeah.
If I can't bring happiness or good energy to your life, I have no business being in your life. So if you need it, and the thing is the money, like if it's some wild amount, let's say it's like $2,400. And you like, dang, that's a lot. But I mean, hey, if it'll help you out, I've got it. Here's $2,400. And you think about it like, yo, yes, that's a lot of money. But if you're in a place where you have more than enough money to give that, then you're not going to regret doing it. You're not going to regret doing it.
Yeah.
Now, what I will say is this. I'm going to be honest, okay? If that person behind me has ordered a meal worth over $20, I'm not paying it for it. Got to be under 20. My kindness has limits. I do not have unlimited kindness. This is not T-Mobile.
You got they got credit limits. You got kindness limits.
Yeah, I got kindness limits. Yeah, my kindness score is about a 750. I guarantee there's some wealthy person that's like, you know what? I'm gonna give them $2,000. I think that I like low key. I'll probably low key get off on that. Like if or when the Lord blesses me like that, and I see somebody that's really fucking struggling, like really going through it, and let's say you have a conversation with them, they seem like a cool person. You'd be like, hey, how would you feel if I wrote you a check for $4,500 right now? They'd be like, well, why would you do that? I'd be like, well, I mean, would you be okay with that? And they'd be like, okay. And then you give them $4,500 and like, sir, why would you give me that much money?
Yeah.
Because, like, I feel like I wish somebody would have did that to me in my darkest times.
Yeah. I know, like Mark Cuban was on the Breakfast Club with, I forget the dude's name, but he's the person that designed the like the twist comb,
Yeah.
And
it was a tennis racket at first.
Yeah, exactly. It was a pretty good interview, and I kind of had that same feeling about Mark and him, because the dude was already like a pretty successful person already, but he was just saying like when I seen him, I think he said the first meeting I came to or whatever, he had like a beat up like a bucket.
Yeah.
But he had like cash to fund his business, and like the way he was moving was the ideal way a person on a come up should move.
Right.
And that's what led Mark Cuban to investing in his company and really believing him. That's that type of stuff. Like if somebody out there, and I'm not in that position yet, but if it's somebody out there like that I really believe in, and I see them out here, if it's a musician or actor, whatever the case may be, because you see and hear these stories all the time, whether it's like Jamie Foxx, telling people to come to a studio,
Right.
linking up with Kanye West or Chris Brown or Charlamagne the God paying for people's rent, or Denzel Washington, funding Chadwick Boseman's college, education, and all these different kind of things. And you see, like, there are people that genuinely make good on those things. And I was telling Eddie the other day, like, my mom is one of those people that she'll extend her hand in any way she can, whether it's a meal or a couch or a bed to sleep on, whatever the case may be. And she was one of those people, like, and a lot of my cousins and my uncles and aunts and all this kind of stuff. And a lot of those people, like, were able to take advantage of that. And I don't know what kind of things they did to pay her back, or maybe the success is like the ultimate payback for those people. Like, I didn't waste your time, I didn't waste your food, I didn't waste your money, or whatever the case may be. But it's just super important, man, because you don't know, like that when they say it takes a village to raise people, or whatever the case may be. That's a real thing. Like, we need the people that we run into, the random person that instills some confidence in you, or the random person that maybe you couldn't afford to get on the bus to go to school, or what. All those little things add up to a person's success.
Like, what I do purposely, I don't know if I've mentioned it on the podcast. Like, if I'm on Instagram and I see somebody post like an ad trying to get attention for their music or whatever it is, if I genuinely like it, I inbox them, and I don't know them from here to a can of paint. But I will get in their DMs and say, hey, dude, you make really good music. Mm-hmm. I really enjoy it. Keep going, man. God bless you. And the reaction for them is like, oh, my God, man, thank you. Mm-hmm. Because there's probably so many people that are not giving them any type of reaction or credit because they're not popular. Most people don't give a fuck about you until you make it.
Yeah.
But when you got 600 followers and you make amazing music, people act like you're not amazing. Yeah. I want you to know right now how amazing you are, because I could see it objectively. I don't need you to be Drake for me to give you a fucking compliment. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I think that, it's up to us, man, in regards to, not just paying it forward, but if we also see somebody moving in a positive direction, I would love to have something to do with that. Mm-hmm. Like, if I know that you're trying to get your business off the ground and you've been running it for a while and you've been struggling and whatever, if I could give you $10,000 to help you kind of fast track that shit you're going through, that'd be my honor, because you're worth it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A lot of people in this world don't feel like they're worth it. And I think by paying it forward and having human kindness, it makes them reevaluate things. Like,
I think even the most, like, successful person, or the person that is probably you would deem as, like, really good at whatever, I think, at moments in our lives, we all need, especially the, maybe not the monetary thing, but the confidence thing. Like, the artists that's, they made, 30 songs or whatever. They put them all on SoundCloud, and it's maybe, a handful of listens. But the songs is hard, and you may need that, like you were saying, a person like you to say, yo, keep going. That's dope. Like, keep working. Or even, like, you think about a guy like Steph Curry, who's arguably one of the not even arguably the best shooter in NBA history, right? There are multiple videos circulating where Steve Kerr is like, hey, keep shooting. It's just you're going through a rough patch right now, but keep shooting. I've seen games where you've struggled through 4 quarters, and then 2 minutes left in the game, you hit a big shot. So and that's like the type of even for a person like Steph Curry, like he I don't know if he needed it. I'm sure he believes in himself enough, but it just gave him that extra little bit of confidence instilled in him that may have helped him get over a rough patch.
Yeah, because I see, like, I don't want to go jumping all around, but I see some coaches when a player makes a mistake and like, what are you doing? Get your head in the game. What do you think's going on? Blah, blah. I feel like that's counterproductive a lot of times.
Yeah.
If I have a quarterback, if I'm a head coach and my quarterback throws an interception and he's like pissed off and got his head down, I'm like, hey, stop that. Pick your head back up. Get back out there and do what you know how to do. Mm-hmm. You're all right. Just forget about that interception. Just move on. It's okay. Mm-hmm. When you let people know that I'm human, you're human. You made a mistake. Yeah, you fucked up, but you're gonna fuck up a lot in life. I'm not gonna chastise you for one mistake. Get out there and be great like you know how to do it.
That's I was watching All the Smoke with Steph Curry, that the interview they had, and he was talking about like the first time he had went to Davidson, or I think his freshman year, he turned the ball over like 15 times, something crazy like that. And the coach did the same thing like Steve Kerr did. Hey, don't worry about it. Like, keep playing your game. It's gonna come to you. That kind of thing. Because like you said, there's a lot of not only coaches but people that will in that moment kind of not say the right thing.
Yeah, they shit on you.
Yeah, exactly. So, they just making the situation worse. But, I think it's just, that from a monetary sense or from a confident sense or, just an uplifting statement, a very timely statement. Even for us, sometimes we had certain things what we were doing, like people would reach out to us and like give us that little bit of encouragement.
You need that, man.
Yeah, or we out and about and somebody like, hey man, I love the podcast, or I was just over my friend's house yesterday, and then they had played my song. You know what I mean? Because they had like a playlist going, and I was just like, man, that like it was kind of like a strange feeling, but it was just like, dang, it's so crazy. Like, just that support goes a long way, and it's stuff you never forget.
What's dope about it though is it's organic support. That's the best support to have. I don't want you to listen to this podcast because you know me. Like I think for me, and then it's also on us too because we have imposter syndrome. Like you have to be it's a certain amount of vulnerability in putting something out.
Yeah.
And in people judging it. Right. But I think that our, imposter syndrome and other people's support, sometimes we have to learn how to, those lines can get blurred. And some people just like what they like.
Yeah.
And for the people that like, there's a lot of, I'm seeing the analytics of a lot of people all over the country that are starting to really tune into this content. And I think that these are special people because we're not these big people yet. Like we're still growing the platform and it's doing good. But for people to repeat listen to two guys that are not popular, that says a lot about them.
I think, and I took this because I was telling you guys last week that I was going to the J. Cole concert on Thursday. And what I realized being in there, and then even piggybacking off of the Gambino concert, because they were both at the Forum.
Yeah,
there's a group of people in America that don't care about no outside noise. Like they don't care about. So Drake comes out with Certified Lover Boy, right? It sells 600,000 the first week, and all these people. Lil Baby has got all this buzz and all this kind of stuff, right? But like. He shut down the Forum. Like it was a real event, sold out show, people in there singing every single word. But outside, when you walk outside, there may be somebody rolling by playing Meg Thee Stallion, or there may be somebody arguing on Twitter like Kendrick Lamar is the best rapper ever, or Drake is number one rapper in for the decade, whatever the case may be. But I think that and not to compare like our fan base to his, but as far as J. Cole's, but there are like people that just like they don't care about nothing. It's just like I appreciate this art. I love this art. I love this podcast, whatever the case may be. And I am not influenced by popularity or
there you go.
Whatever. Yeah. So.
That's exactly what I was trying to say. Is the fact that the people that more than likely the people that gravitate to this content, especially in I would say it's still in its infancy, believe it or not. Even though we've been doing it for years, I have a what do you call it? I have the foresight to see way down the line, and I think it's going to be massive. So to look at something that's like in its infancy almost and see the value in it and see two guys and enjoy it means that you like this type of art. You like this type of content regardless of how many popular people come out with podcasts or how many other extremely popular podcasts are out in the world. You took the time to tune in, and that's very important. And for all the content creators out there, just because you're getting 7 views, don't get mad that you're getting 7 views. be appreciative of those 7 views, because those are 7 people that didn't have to look at your shit. And I think that when you have that mindset shift, and you realize that these people are valuable, you work your ass off for those 7 people. And out of those 7 people, maybe 2 of them might tell a friend. Yeah. And then maybe those friends might tell a friend. Because, dude, nobody starts out successful. Like, you just don't start out that way. Joe Rogan did the podcast for 6 years before he got paid.
And I think you got to, like, almost put the same amount of attention and detail into, sharing with 7 people as you would. You can't, there's no switch. There's not, we don't have the ability as creators to be like, oh, I'm going to make this average content now, but when I get 20,000 people viewing it, then I'm going to look more professional. Whatever. So
don't do that.
You got to treat, if you got 2 people listening to it, you got to make sure it's on point. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's all about the listeners, man. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, we can kind of on a tangent. But, there's that, man. Make sure you pay it forward.
Yeah. Let me go into the
my
Cole
bad,
concert.
Yeah. He's talking about J. Cole's concert.
Yeah, man. Most people that know me know I'm a huge J. Cole fan, and that was the first time I got to see him in concert. And it was just overall it was a really good show. For most people that know J. Cole, I think now, as far as like celebrities go, it's very difficult, especially if you're anywhere from like Eddie's age, on down. It's very difficult to fake being a good person these days.
Very true.
Because it's cameras around, we are just more connected to everybody. So, that those horror stories you hear about, people meeting their idols and they blowing them off or cussing them out or whatever the case may be, that, people asking for pictures and they, cussing them out, whatever. I don't think you can't really fake that these days. And I think the one thing that I took from J. Cole's concert is you could really see his personality on stage. You could see that he, genuinely cares about the people in the crowd. He genuinely wanted people that spent their hard-earned money to have a really good time,
right,
and then to enjoy themselves. But then also his personality spills through when he's just talking. So the video you sent, like, he had been doing that every show. So there's a video that was floating around where he's basically saying like, getting to these shows and performing the hit records is easy. But he's like, there's a fear, even for me as a successful artist, that I may go out to some of these shows and nobody knows the words to my songs.
Right.
So he's saying that having that fear may shift the way that I make music. I may try to just do these radio hits for an entire album instead of doing music that I genuinely care about. So he made that statement, and you could tell, like, and he did it in a way where he's speaking about himself, but he's also speaking about it in a way where he's telling the audience. Like, so
very relatable.
Even for us as podcasters, is like, yo, we can get on here and talk about, and we do it sometimes, but we can get on here and talk about the hot topic every single week.
Right.
You know what I mean? We could talk about, if it's, some stuff that would have been huge conversations, we just avoided, what I mean? Or waited, till 2-3 weeks later. Yep. But we don't just get on here and run through the news feed and talk about everything that's going on. If we see something and it resonates with us and there's a real message behind it, then we'll have a conversation about it.
Right.
But even, knowing the algorithms, knowing how YouTube works, where you could just post a clip of us talking about trans people or Dave Chappelle or Jussie Smollett and all these different things, and then just putting the headline as that, you could definitely run it up. But I think, with us, we have kind of operated the same way as far as just talking about things we genuinely cared about. But as far as the show, it was great. I think, just the crowd interaction. I think when you go to the show, and I'm a fan already, but when you go to a show like that, you almost appreciate the music more. You know what I mean? It's almost like when we went to Gambino's show.
Yes.
Just hearing it live, hearing how acoustically it sounded great.
Right.
Sounded amazing. Just hearing everybody singing the songs and stuff like that, I thought it was great. And I think the one thing that I also took away from it was a hit is overrated. Like, you think about Drake, right? Drake has, Billboard charting songs, Hotline Bling, One Dance, all these, top 10, top number 2 songs in the country and all this kind of stuff. But when I was at the concert, like, and, piggybacking off of that conversation, people, well, it might have been, it's at the Forum. I don't know how many people are in there, maybe 10,000, 11,000 people. You got 11,000 people singing album cuts.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not the song that's playing on the radio that is super popular that you hear, people, driving by playing all the time.
Yeah.
This is a song that's number 5 on the album, and they're singing it word for word. So I just thought about that as far as like, having that connection with the fan base is so much more important than this like popularity or whatever the case may be. And that's the long lasting impression. And people were like, people sitting next to me genuinely excited to see him. And,
I think when people care about you as a content creator, they look at, they pay attention to intricate details.
Yeah.
So they're not just like, oh, I love this hit, this hit, this hit, and this hit. They're like, I like that skit that you did 6 years ago about your mom or something. And it's like, that's how you know you have a real fan base. Mm-hmm. It's not like these people who are fair weather fans of things. Mm-hmm. But I think what's cool about J. Cole is when you can say these things. I think that what's happening in America too is, I don't want to jump all over. We're slowly like we're rebranding masculinity, and I feel like as a man, being vulnerable on a stage in front of people is masculinity.
Yeah.
A lot of times, especially throughout history, men kind of bottle things up.
Yeah.
But if I'm J. Cole or I'm anybody or I'm just Eddie on a podcast and I could admit that I was scared about this situation or I was insecure about this situation or it made me feel this way, that type of shit, man, that's new masculinity.
Yeah, yeah. Just like, because he went to... when he was in Vegas, he did the show, the one he was wearing his Crocs or whatever. Mm-hmm. He was out there and he was like, man, I'm going to be honest with y'all. I was really scared that y'all wouldn't know these words.
Damn.
But that's like as a content creator, artist, whatever the case may be, there's a certain level of vulnerability.
Yes.
Like in one moment, you could feel like you the best podcaster in the world. And then in the next moment, you could be like, man, they got a really good podcast over there. I don't really know if ours is as good as theirs. But it's just that kind of like dichotomy or that battle that we have within ourselves. But that's definitely one of those things where like we're masculine is just being honest and, keeping it real with not only yourself, but like the people around you.
I think the number one word to describe like the overall idea of masculinity when you could be, open and transparent and feel things is freedom.
Yeah.
Like I'm free because I don't have to live behind this wall of, oh, no homo, bro, that's whack. Or no, I don't do that. I ain't never cried a day in my life. And like, that's fake. Mm-hmm. You're living your whole life being fake when you actually can be vulnerable in front of people who support you or whoever and say, yo, I was afraid that you wouldn't know these words to the song. Mm-hmm. And that makes me feel a certain way. Or like if you say, hey, when people say this about me, it makes me feel bad.
Yeah.
I get over it, but at the same time, yes, I do feel something and it does make me feel bad when people say this about me.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you free. And
if
if you making fun of me, like as a man, I don't fear men that will try to make fun of you for being open and being honest about stuff because I feel bad for you because
you're imprisoned to this masculine this idea.
Like, don't get it twisted. I may feel and I may express things and I may be transparent, but that does not mean that I won't strangle you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That just means I'm at one with myself.
Yeah.
But I could hurt you really bad. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's that, man. And J. Cole is one hell of a guy.
I know, like one thing too, and kind of piggybacking off of that conversation you had about like paying it forward. Right. I think that's one of the things that I noticed as well about, like, he brought Moray on, to open up for him on the show. And he don't have no connection with him outside of him being from the same, like they from the same town or whatever. But it's just like when you see stuff like that, and then he brings him on stage and he's like, yo, man, like, you know, we both know how difficult it is for you to come from where we from, and people don't make it here. I'm so proud of you. You know, just kind of like he opened up for him, right? But you know, when the opener is on, it'd be half the arena's there, right? But he brought him back on the stage and he asked him to perform Quicksand again. Yeah. And then he just like, I just thought that was dope. Like he's doing his own show, but he gave his artists, Ari Lennox, Boss, and I think that was only 2 people he brought out, but even 21 Savage kind of giving him, obviously 21 Savage is a big artist already, but, you know, just kind of giving him his own runway as well. And that's that kind of like paying it forward too. But just the last kind of comment I have on it, we talked about like being in the moment, right? And, you know, even when we went to the Gambino show, we talked about, like, we recorded a little bit, but we were trying to be present. And that was my approach to it. But, you know, when you look around, you'll see somebody, like, recording the whole show. And it's like you're almost ruining your experience because you're not enjoying it. You're not able to sing along. You're more focused on the camera.
You're trying to get others to feel like they missed out. Yeah, and you're trying to convince people that you had a good time, but I know you didn't have a good time because you spoiled it for yourself by having your fucking arm with a camera in it the whole time.
Ruining the experience. So for me, I took like a couple pictures and recorded like some of my favorite songs. And one of the things I wanted to do is just see the crowd reaction. Like I'm very interested in how people are singing the songs and what lines he's, you know, pointing the mic to the audience and stuff like that. But one of my takeaway. So my cousin had went, Deontay, he had went, and I had no idea he was going, right? Okay. So when he seen me post my picture on Twitter, and then the next day we hopped on like this family Zoom chat or whatever. He was like, "Hey man, I was at the concert too," and I was like, "Oh snap! I had no idea. I wish I'd known he was going or whatever, so we could have kicked it or whatever." But I was like, "Hey, did you get any like pictures or videos or anything like that?" And he was like, "Nah, I had my phone." He was like, I just wanted to like experience the show. And mind you, he's 21 years old or 22 years old. So I was like, dang, that's such a build different. Like, yeah, that's such a you don't hear it, especially we grew up on social media and stuff like that. But for somebody to say I didn't take no pictures at all, like you're like literally living in the moment, like just experiencing the show for what it was.
He strikes me as one of those guys that he's not going to take a bunch of pictures, but he will keep that ticket. He'll keep that ticket, probably frame it. Maybe put it in a box of all the concerts he's ever went to. Yeah. Because that's how it was back in the 90s. You felt things. You didn't do all that. But now we live in a time where people can't even have a night of drinking without posting everything on Snapchat, everything on Facebook, everything on everything. They got to take a million pictures because they want to convince you that they're having a blast. Yeah. Like, people need to start learning to live in these moments. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's just, I don't want to jump all over the place, but it's like, if you're a person that, let's say, for example, you're married or you're in a relationship with somebody and you love them, you experience that person though, right? Yeah. You're experiencing them. Day to day, you're experiencing that person. If you didn't post hardly anything of them on social media, you still get to experience these people. Yeah. But there are some people who cheat themselves out of experiencing their partner because they have to keep on acting happy and posting pictures of themselves. They could just get in a knockdown, drag-out argument. Here, babe, take a selfie with me. And it's like, this is just so inauthentic that, you know, it's forced and inauthentic, and now you're not really experiencing a person because you want others to experience this facade instead of actually a fruitful situation. Like, that's for you. That concert that you went to, that's for you.
It's for you and your memories.
And your memories.
And the people, your friends, whatever.
100%. And that energy that you share between you and the people at that event, y'all gonna feel that forever. You trying to make people feel it forever who just gonna look at it, oh, that's cool. They're gonna put it away. Yeah. They don't give a fuck about that picture.
Yeah. And it, like you were saying, it's you're almost like like you were saying, I'll just reiterate what you said. Like you're showing these experiences that you genuinely have a real connection with and that you really love being in certain spaces to somebody that's just going to scroll through your thing, you know? So I think a lot of those experiences, and I didn't even take, I just posted the one picture just to kind of like give a timeline of what I did. Yeah. But I have stuff that probably will never see the light of day. You know what I mean? That I could just have in my phone or that I share with my siblings or whatever that they weren't able to go. But outside of that, it's like nobody cared. No one cares about your life in general.
If you really think about it, folks, the best experiences that you have ever had are not in your phone, and they're not recorded on a camera. They are in your memory bank. Yeah. You know that time you were at home and your favorite cousin came over and y'all roasted each other for 3 hours straight. Yeah. And only you and like 5 of your cousins remember that. But no one took a picture of that. Mm-hmm. But you guys all remember it. Yeah. You know, how you felt when you went to school and you ate that mashed potatoes with gravy, and you and your homies used to, you know, jump the line so you get in front of people. Those experiences you will experience, but you didn't have a phone taking pictures of that.
Yeah. And even for me, like the things that I do take pictures of, I have a decent memory, you know what I mean? But I almost keep those to trigger the memory. Like, yes. So if I'm scrolling through my phone or like, you know, however many, like 2-3 years from now, I'd be like, oh snap, I forgot about it. And not even to like relive it, but just to like think about it in my head. Like I think about if I'm just like when I went to the Forum, it reminded me of the Gambino concert. Like seeing the poster sold out or seeing the thing on the side of the building and all this different stuff. But those are like, and I rarely look at those pictures, but just kind of like having those is like the triggering kind of thing.
And all the things that were attached to it, like, you know, from the time we went in to the parking to, you know, the expensive tacos that we bought that hardly had any fucking meat on them. Yeah. You know, the Asian boy that tried to accuse us of stealing the seats. Yeah. You know, all this shit. The guy that was smoking weed during the concert with tears in his eyes. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, he was smoking weed and just like with his homeboy or whatever, and he just started smoking and just like crying. And I was like enjoying the whole energy, like just the whole I guess the stimulus of it. Just enjoying that and enjoying the actual sound of, you know, of real live instruments and drums
keys and guitars
and the loudness. I've never been in anything a part of something that loud. It was
so loud.
It was piercing.
I would say the moment when Gambino was backstage.
Oh my God.
And he did like 3 iterations of, hey, like y'all not loud enough, I'm not coming out. Yeah. Might have been loud. It was a moment where J. Cole and Boss did a song together and they were pretty much making some noise. But I think that moment when Gambino was backstage drinking water was probably the loudest I had seen or heard from both concerts.
Bruh, I'm going to tell you what. It was so loud, it sent like shocks from my feet all the way up through my body. Mm-hmm. Like the ground was shaking.
Yeah, it felt like sound waves were hitting you. Like,
yeah, exactly. It was like Hadouken, Sonic Boom. Like, God damn, am I a Street Fighter? What the fuck?
Yeah. But we definitely learned our lesson from the parking. I was telling my girl, I was like, hey, look at a landmark. And I was like, oh, Manchester right here. Let's look at the letters or whatever. Yeah. So when we walk out, we good. But it was funny because it was the same craziness how we look walking around hitting the button for the car was how people were looking.
People were doing that. Yeah. That's hilarious, man.
But definitely a good time. I think, like, you know, I always say this for people, but that's what my cousin was saying too. He's just like, man, like he was like, I had sent the concert details to like my friends and stuff he said I sent it to my friends, but nobody was like, they didn't respond. So he was like, this is my favorite artist. I'm not going to miss out on this opportunity because you never know like when it's going to come around again. And I only say that to say, like, listeners out there, like if you got the means to do it, obviously, because, you know, concerts and games and stuff is super expensive. But, you know, if you're kind of on the fence about it, maybe you like, I got this bill coming up, whatever. Like, I genuinely feel like some of these experiences, like going to, you know, a football game or a basketball game or a concert or something like that is like one of those enjoyable moments that by the time that it comes around when you get paid again, you're not even going to be worried about that money. So
yeah, I think that it's just, and I will end this conversation here, but I think it's just, the things that you like when you actually get to experience those things live is different.
It's different. Mm-hmm. It triggers your memory in a different way that it,
100%.
like watching it on TV, it can never do it for you.
100%, man.
Let me grab my charger.
Keith's running out of power. All right, switching gears. We'll switch gears while he's figuring it out. Switching gears, the rapper Lil Boosie just recently had some pretty harsh words for Lil Nas X. And by harsh, I mean homophobic. That's yeah, it's pretty bad. Very, very bad. Okay. Boosie Badass hurls vile words at Lil Nas X in homophobic tweet. Let me read this quick thing. Lil Nas X addressed the idea of making a song with Lil Boosie, who did not react kindly. The report below, which quotes Boosie Badass remarks directed to Lil Nas X, contains potentially distressing language about suicide. Over the weekend, a clip of Lil Nas X from Instagram Live popped up, one in which he said, those watching, I've been working on this song with Lil Boosie, bro. I have this song with Lil Boosie gonna come out. And Boosie Badass responded to his name being brought up by Lil Nas X with vile homophobic attack that suggested the industry baby rapper should commit suicide. This is what he said in quote, stop trolling me, maggot, that rhymes with the word that rhymes with maggot. LOL, you a whole bitch playing with a gangster, shaking my head. You can keep sucking dick, nigga, getting fucked in your ass, nigga. Peace in you hate, and the hashtag you hate yourself. I would too if I was you. LOL, Nas X. If you commit suicide, you could do this world a huge favor. Nobody wants you here. Tweeted Saturday afternoon. The tweet remained published for a while on Saturday, but has since been deleted for violating Twitter rules. Okay, here's the thing. I just want men to understand this. Being homophobic is not masculine energy. I don't know who needs to hear that, but being homophobic does not make you a man, nor is it masculine energy. Lil Nas X was just trolling him. All he said is, I got a song coming out with coming out with Boosie. But Boosie has said some shit about him, saying like, if I seen him dancing, like I want to snatch him off the stage and all of this. And it's weird. It's like overcompensation. It's to me, it's weird because you're trying to like prove to the world how manly you are, but homophobia is not manly. Jack Harlow is a better representation of what masculinity is than Lil Boosie.
Yeah.
Jack Harlow could maintain his sexuality as a man, as a heterosexual man, and do a video with a gay dude.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I'm not saying like most people would sign up to do a video with a guy with dicks in the video. I probably wouldn't, but but truth be told, he maintained his masculinity. He didn't have to be homophobic. He didn't have to do none of that. Mm-hmm. By the way, a lot of times we say that, LGBT or gay people is overreacting. They think everybody's after them. They're so sensitive and this and that. But this is a point for the LGBT community because this motherfucker said that kids should commit suicide. Mm-hmm. That is a terrible thing to say.
That's wild. Nobody wants you here.
Nobody wants you here. Mm-hmm. Called him the F word, all of that, bro. And by the way, this is not pandering. This is a genuine response from a heterosexual male. You do not have to be homophobic to be a man. This needs to stop. You got to cut this bullshit out. If you don't, and by the way, you don't have to subscribe to someone's lifestyle. If you don't agree with people being gay, that's still cool. But let's be very clear. You have no right to disrespect these people. You have no right to say they should kill themselves. You have no right to call them the word that rhymes with maggot. All these things are just human decency, bro. You don't have to do this. This shit needs to fucking stop. And for all the men out there or anybody listen to this podcast, I'm telling you right now, you may think saying the F word is cool. But you're going to have, what if you have a son that comes out as gay? What if you have a cousin that comes out as gay? Are you still going to be talking to them like that? It was a dude that I know of that said, man, if my son came out as gay, I would disown him. Mm-hmm. Really, bro?
Yeah.
Really?
There's people agreeing in the comment.
People agreeing with that bullshit. Mm-hmm. It's like, dog. Mm-hmm. That's not masculine energy. A real man could see something that he doesn't even that he could see something that he doesn't even agree with and say, hey, I don't rock with that, but I got love for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that, and it's ironic that this is coming out now, but a couple weeks ago I had texted you like, yo, people be unknowingly very homophobic. Yeah, and it's and like stuff that Lil Boosie was saying, and even what the baby was saying in his in his rant, or I don't even know what you would call that. But just people we know personally that'll get online and they'll say like certain slick stuff, and even almost like having a statement about people in that community. If you say things a certain way, can definitely come off as homophobic. So even when Boosie was like, you could say it all you want to. I'm not homophobic. People can do whatever they want to. My cousin is this, my cousin is that, or my friend is this, or I shot a movie with the cinematographer was, whatever the case may be. You can say all of that stuff.
You want a cookie?
But that just means you're cordial with those people.
Right.
But as soon as you leave there, that's your real true personality.
Right.
And for Lil Boosie to be mad at Lil Nas X for saying that he has a song coming with him, he can say that he's lying. He can go in there and be like, we actually haven't worked on anything. But even having this much energy towards somebody like Lil Nas X, who is far more successful as a musician than you are, to say that, stop playing with my name, you want him dead and all that, just from literally saying I have a song coming out. And he was trolling, and there wasn't obviously not a song coming out, but to have that much energy just because someone that is gay said they got a song coming out with you is just beyond my explanation.
That's hatred, man. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing that kills me. A gay man has not ever done something for me to hate them. Mm-hmm. Like I don't get it. Like I don't hate gay people, bro. Mm-hmm. They ain't never did nothing to me. The fuck, they ain't did nothing to me.
Yeah.
All they did was just be gay. Just let them be gay, man. Mm-hmm. I don't get the big deal.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And the dude is a troll, regardless of Lil Nas X being gay or not. He's a troll, right? But if you see him trolling, the worst you could have said, like, come on, bro. We're not making a song together.
Yeah.
But for you to go overboard with dropping the F-bombs and saying he should kill himself, my G, you're doing some real destructive shit. And I'm gonna tell you what else. Believe it or not, Lil Boosie's actions completely canceled the baby. And the reason why is the baby was on the upswing. Because that shit was starting to die down a little bit. But this amount of homophobia and the amount of you should commit suicide and all of that.
He took it to another level.
So nobody's going to want to deal with the baby now. Nobody. By the way, a lot of collaborations, people who collaborated with the baby, is going to stop. Because you're going to fuck your money up working with somebody who is now in the realm of homophobia. So these venues are going to be like, hey, well, you can come up here, but you can't do that collaboration with the baby. He can't come on stage with you. That's what's going to start happening.
I think he's already kind of like had his he lost a bunch of shows. I think it's going to kind of go swept under the rug. I think Lil Boosie is, I would say even Lil Boosie is done. But the only problem with that is that he has such a core audience, niggas from the South that just love Lil Boosie and, been playing his music since the early 2000 or mid 2000 whatever.
Boosie runs his shit though too, so he's
he has this independent and he does everything on his own. So I think he's going to reach a ceiling, and maybe he may be affected as far as some venues and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But the problem with that is the people that he's talking to or communicating with or that listen to his music or that he's working with, for the most part, probably think the same way he does.
Yeah. And look, when you say I'm not homophobic, I got this, that, and the third, or I work with this people that happen to be gay. And it's bro, that ain't no different than somebody that's racist that happen to be white that's saying I have black friends. Mm-hmm. That don't mean you don't say nigger when they leave your house.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? As soon as you leave your house, you dropping N-bombs.
Yeah, I think that when it comes to that, we have to realize that just because you're cordial with somebody from a certain community doesn't mean like it's just like there's a lot of racist people out there that they may have a black friend or whatever, but they for sure don't want their daughter or sister being in a relationship with a black dude or something like that. So it's like I think the lack of like self-awareness is kind of weird.
It's weird. Yeah. It's weird because there's people that say like, look, I ain't got no problem with black folks. I don't think they're bad people or anything. I just don't want I don't want them around my daughter, and I just don't want them in my house.
Yeah.
And you be like, motherfucker, you racist as fuck.
That's a contradiction.
That's a super contradiction. Mm-hmm. There are people in America, a lot of people in America that do that. Mm-hmm. They'll be like, there was a dude I used to work with at Sears, and I went over because he was adding like music to my, I had the Zune at the time, the Zune MP3 player, and he was loading up my MP3 with a bunch of music. And then his mom was like, told him something in Spanish. And then he came back after she told him something out of the room. And he's like, my mom's tripping, dude, because you're black. Like, she really don't like black people in her house.
Oh, my God.
And I was like, are you serious? He's like, and I thought he was playing. I started laughing. He wasn't playing. He's like, yeah, she don't really like black people in her house like that.
And Did you have to leave?
And I was like, what? I was like, so I could leave? He said, no, you're good for a while, but I mean, she really don't like black people in her house. And I was just like, yo, I had nothing against him, though. Me and him was still cool. But I was just like, yo.
At the crib like that.
Like, I ain't never coming over here again. Yeah. Just the fact that I was black. And by the way, that shit like that has happened to me a lot in my life. I know a lot of people say America's not racist. There's nothing wrong with people, blah, blah, blah. But, dog, that's how people are.
Yeah.
People will not want somebody around.
I think I think every so often we got to update our thinking, right? I think initially it's always going to be some pushback, right? Yeah. So for us in the 1990s and 2000s, we may have been throwing around, gay slurs and, and all this kind of stuff in casual conversations. Or maybe just having certain ideas like, the two people of the same sex shouldn't get married and I'm not going to no gay wedding, all this kind of stuff, right? That's kind of how we operated in the 90s and the 2000s. But then we started to see the people for who they are. Right. Like they are no different outside of the fact that they are, maybe dating somebody of the same sex or married to somebody of the same sex. Right. Like, it doesn't remove the fact that they're funny. It doesn't remove the fact that they are good people or they'll, they'll help you out or in some capacity if you need it. You know what I mean? Even for me, like, not that I had, at the time, like my cousin, we had started to build a closer bond, and he was kind of like the black sheep of the family in a sense because he kind of he wasn't very close to us growing up, and then it's kind of like in our family, even if you're not communicating with whomever on a daily basis, we all know what's going on with everybody. Like, hey, my mom would be like, hey, did you hear about such and such? They just got married. Or did you hear about such and such? They're going to Italy or whatever the case may be. Right. You just kind of know bits and pieces about it. And we have a bigger family too. So you just kind of know these different things. But my cousin, when I was probably like 23, 24, somewhere in there, like I reached out to him because I was writing a screenplay. And I asked him if he would read it for me. And basically he was like, hey, what are you doing? Come out to LA and work on this TV show with me. And I was like, okay. Like, and I didn't, like, mind you, we have a little bit of an age difference. He's probably like 5 years older than me. Mm-hmm. But like I said, we didn't really grow up together, but we just always knew of each other. Right. So he just like brought me out. He let me stay in his apartment and stuff like that. But I think that was the experience that I needed personally to be around not only him, but other people that were gay too, like worked in Hollywood and whatnot. And you just see like these people, like his husband is super cool, like super talented, like plays the guitar and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. Like he let me record in his studio and my cousin, obviously, like he's taking care of me in many different facets as far as getting me jobs. And he flew me out to New York to stay with him for like a week or so and like all these different things. So I just think for me, like, I updated my thinking because whatever you know from the outside looking in, like these people are weird or how could you do that and all this kind of stuff. Like, I think one, you have to remove yourself because it's not necessarily for you to understand.
Yeah, but more than anything, too, what's absolutely hilarious is the fact that we don't really experience people. Mm-hmm. We have an idea of people, and we use that as experience when it's not. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, there's somebody that's black that lives in somewhere in the South that pretty much grew up in a segregated place. People don't realize this, but there are still parts of America that are segregated. I don't know who needs to hear this.
Yeah.
But there's parts of America where there are white schools and black schools, literally, to this day. Mm-hmm. And it was done based off of, the prequel, which was, segregation, that split these towns up. But anyways, there are some black people that really have never went to school with white people, never had a white coach or anything. The only white people they see is on TV, maybe on ER. Or they might see a white person driving down the street. And then they have these conversations about like what white people are, and by the time they experience them, they got all these years of lack of experiencing different people. Mm-hmm. Same thing with white people. It's some white people that have never experienced black people. The only experience they got with black people is what they seen on the news or a rap video or watching a basketball game. Outside of that, they have no fucking black friends. They don't know anything about black culture. They don't know anything about black history. They don't know anything black. But then they have these ideals of what black people are. Mm-hmm. And usually it's so fucked up and so backwards that they think like, I'm not racist at all. But you have ideology that's problematic.
It's the worst part is that is when you're when you're like entertainment / sports fans, right?
Right.
So somebody can be living in Kansas City and they might be super racist, right? But Patrick Mahomes is you guys' quarterback, so you're going to have some sort of affinity for Patrick Mahomes, but he almost operates outside of race because he's just a great athlete. He's on commercials, very wealthy, and all this kind of stuff. But when it comes down to that, it could be a person that looks exactly like Patrick Mahomes, and you see him in a grocery store, you're going to feel some type of way. You're not going to have that same affinity for that person because it's not Patrick Mahomes. So when you have like a certain celebrity, you're almost operating outside of race a little bit.
Patrick Mahomes is like racially ambiguous.
Yeah.
Like he's obviously half black, but like even the way he talks, like everything, like he's like in the middle of everything.
Yeah.
Like, hey, my name's Patrick Mahomes. I play for the Kansas City Chiefs.
You'd be like, you don't know what this guy is. This motherfucker Samoan? What is this guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, The Rock is like that too.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. The Rock doesn't even play black people in movies. He just plays like The Rock.
Yeah,
whatever race that is. he got his own race.
It's just called Rock. when he fill out an application for a job, he just put Rock.
He scribble out everything and put Rock and put a little box right there.
No, he created his own box. It'd be like black, white, Pacific Islander, Rock.
That's the only thing that bothers me about some of his movies. He'll have like a family in some movies, and his wife is always like almost racially ambiguous too. And then his kids, I'd be like, come on, dog. I don't even know like, what the ethnicity of these kids are.
Yeah, it'd be hilarious, man.
Yeah.
And The Rock is just black and Samoan. But like if you seen The Rock, I don't know if you would assume that he just looks racially ambiguous.
Yeah, I mean, he's always kind of looked like that. And now he's like just a different version of that.
You would more or less assume he's probably Samoan more than anything, though, because he has that huge fucking tribal tattoo also.
Yeah. But he definitely has like a Bruno Mars. Like him and Bruno Mars could be cousins.
Yeah.
Like could be his little cousin or something like that.
Yeah, like Bruno is one of them dudes that you don't know if he is black, Samoan, or Filipino.
Yeah.
Because sometimes Filipinos be looking like they could be black. Mm-hmm. And you'd be like,
and the curly hair and stuff like that.
Yeah, like you just dark.
Yeah, and he kind of sings R&B too, so you'd be like, I don't know about him.
I don't know about this guy. He sure can tap dance.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. But yeah, there's that, man.
I just think overall we got to update our thinking. I think it's good to question things, and we don't necessarily have to just fall into these norms. And you can even question like sexuality, like why are two men together? Why are two women together? Why are male and a female? Like, you can question that ideology and, kind of be curious about the idea. But as more information comes out and, you don't necessarily have to go with this whole normalizing trend, but as more information comes out, as you talk to people and, whatever, I always go back to that Daphne quote, from the Dave Chappelle special, as far as like, I'm having a human experience.
Yeah.
And I think if we looked at everyone in that way, you would really be able to come to terms with everyone's lifestyle. Like,
right.
This is like, they're just having a human experience. The same way that I can be attracted to this is the same way that they can be attracted to that. So.
Right. I won't say a trans person. I won't say, because it's still a man, but he's like wearing women's clothing. So would that be considered like drag, basically?
I guess it just depends on how they present themselves.
Yeah,
because someone could be like just a drag and they really think that they're still a man, and then
yeah. So basically, there's this guy at the gym that wears like dresses and stuff to the gym, and I've seen him many days, and I just don't give a fuck. I don't care enough to be like, oh my god, how dare he wear a dress to the gym?
But some people would say that. I mean, it might be funny, knowing me and you, we might crack a joke about it or whatever, like on the way leaving the gym. But there are some people that genuinely have like I remember I was in the drive-thru at freaking Del Taco downtown, and there's a person there, and I don't want to misquote who they are, what they present themselves as, but he's a very feminine-looking person, right?
Yeah. I remember.
And I was in a drive-thru with one of my friends, and he was just like, "Come on, man! Like you ain't no female. Like just giving that energy that
Chill
it doesn't
out.
matter. Like you're just ordering food.
I'm just here for my food.
Yeah.
Because there was this gay guy that was like talking like, okay, that'll be this much. All right, honey, thank you very much. All right, all right, honey, have a good one. And I wasn't gonna correct him. I'm just like, I'm just here for my food.
Yeah.
I'm not here to be like to put you in check. That's not my fucking job.
Yeah.
Now, if we're in a professional setting, let's say we're working together, I'd be like, hey, I would appreciate if you address me as Eddie.
Yeah.
Right? But you don't got to be like, don't you ever fucking call me hun again.
Like be so pressed.
That's
man.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
People like there are some men out there that are so homophobic that they gotta let the whole world know. They don't even want the world to mistake the fact.
Yeah.
Like just because you being kind to somebody that's gay don't mean you want dick. That's the hilarious thing.
Yeah.
Just because you being kind to someone that's gay doesn't mean you want dick. It just means you're a decent human being.
Yeah. That's the ultimate, that's the freedom that you were speaking about earlier. Even when it comes to like people's sexuality. If you're a person that can operate in a way where you got your wife or you got your family or whatever, and then, you can have a intellectual conversation with a homosexual and not feel any kind of way. And then I think the issue that I see all the time too is like these people be pressed about gay dudes, but meanwhile, they having a threesome with two girls eating each other out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, you're okay with that because it's convenient for you.
And there's some dudes that are okay with having a threesome. It'll be another dude, and they'll be having a three-way with two dudes and one girl.
Yeah.
And then they'll turn around and be like, I ain't gay. And it's like, dude, you had a hard dick around another man.
Yeah.
I mean,
balls is touching.
Yeah, you probably had a balls handshake. Who knows? It's weird, man. Yeah. Fellas, please update your programming, man.
Yeah.
You don't have to conform in any way. You don't have to conform to anything. You don't have to subscribe to anything to be a decent human being.
And I think too, like, just stay offline. You know, if you're a person that you feel, I mean, obviously I don't want people, disrespecting gay people or trans people or whatever. But if you just kept to yourself and didn't say anything, like if we went to the drive-thru and my boy, he actually didn't understand trans people or he didn't want them, whatever the case may be, if you just didn't say anything, it would have been fine. If Lil Boosie feels this way about Lil Nas X and he don't want him calling his name out or whatever, and he didn't say anything, like, we would never know how he's feeling about these things. And I'm not like, saying that it's okay for him to think that way. I'm just saying, like, sometimes we got to keep our opinions offline.
Yeah, we do. We need to keep them off because what'll happen is we will later disagree with the opinions we had.
Yeah, and you're held bondage by a tweet that you.
Yeah. Yep. All right, switching gears. Brittany Renner Recently, head coach Deion Sanders of the Jackson State Tigers, right?
I don't know
I think
what
it's the
that-
Tigers. Was a historically black college, and Deion had. Let me see if I can find the article here. If not, I could talk through it. Well, he basically had Brittany Renner, who also attended Jackson State as a soccer player, and who was a pretty standout soccer player for that team. But now we all know her as a fitness model, whatever that is, and
That's what they say her job title is.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, she's a fitness or influencer.
Yeah.
We know her as that. We also know her as having a PJ. Was it PJ? PJ
Washington.
PJ Washington of the Charlotte Hornets is her child's father, and she has a history of making statements about professional players, saying they're easy to trap. Saying that they're stupid, they don't even wear condoms. If you wanted to trap one of them, it would be easy to do. She also came out with a tell-all book and described her situations with actors and Colin Kaepernick and all these other people, and just like having a tell-all book for no reason. So she's just a very messy person.
Yeah.
Right? And recently she made a statement before she went to talk at Jackson State's football team. She tweeted or she posted on Instagram he's like, y'all better hide y'all sons or whatever. And then I guess she addressed the team after that. My problem with that is this, Deion, you have to be a better leader than this. I would never have a vile woman like that around my team. And the reason why people say, well, you shouldn't be judging people. It's not about me judging someone. It's more about the actions of the person repetitively that are not conducive to my team. What the fuck do I need a woman who wrote a tell-all book about athletes and then just recently got pregnant by one and is making him pay a shitload of child support every month? There's nothing you can tell my team that I can't tell my team. These actions from Deion were very Urban Meyer-like. They were very Ed Orgeron-like. Meaning Ed Orgeron just got busted because he was bringing chicks to the practices. After he got divorced, he was bringing different girls around the practice facility.
Yeah.
So these coaches are drunk off power and they're fucking all these chicks. It's like, dude, you're supposed to be the leader of men. You have to do a better job and you have to be the standard of representing your team. Because you gotta understand this much, because I don't want to bounce around too much. If you're a head coach and you look a parent in the eye and say, hey, me as a head coach, I have your son's best interest in mind. And that parent believes you. But now the parent is seeing you chasing pussy on the internet, and you're supposed to be helping my son get a scholarship, or excuse me, not get a scholarship, he has one. You're supposed to be helping my son develop as a football player and potentially as an NFL player. So I'm not going to be okay with you chasing pussy. That doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah.
In Deion's case, I feel like, and Deion has a history of this. Deion broke down and cried saying that he was addicted to sex. He was addicted to women, and he was addicted to running out on his wife. This is many years ago. And he got divorced, and then he got remarried. So this is the guy that probably still enjoys chasing pussy. Why else would you have a Instagram model with all these issues with men? Why would you bring that energy around your team? That's just my question.
Yeah, I don't know what Brittany Renner can tell a college football team.
Nothing.
She's a former athlete, which is cool, but she's not a successful athlete in a sense of, not that she wasn't good. I'm saying she didn't go on to play, professional soccer. She's not on the Olympic team, the Olympic women's soccer team. She's famous for being something outside of sports.
Yeah.
She's famous for primarily being attractive, and more recently for trapping an NBA player. So I don't know what that resume can do for an 18, 19, 20-year-old kid that's playing college football, especially being under the tutelage of Deion Sanders. I think Phil Jackson would do it sometimes. I believe Steve Kerr did it a little bit, but sometimes they bring in guys that that the players kind of get tired, especially with long seasons, and you're if you've been with a team for a certain amount of years, 5-6 years. The messages may not stick the same, so they may look outside for people to motivate. They may bring Eric Thomas in or something like that. They
brought in The Rock for the Lakers. That was a good one.
Exactly. Brought The Rock in there to talk to the Lakers. I know Eric Thomas. He talks to some teams and different companies and stuff like that. But those people have real value. Those people. Eric Thomas is a professional motivational speaker.
Right.
The Rock is, actually a former athlete himself who,
another dude, Inky something.
Inky.
He got his arm.
Yeah. He's definitely one of those that talks to teams and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But The Rock, he has a resume. He was a former athlete, college athlete. Went on to be, one of the most renowned WWE, superstars, and then he's the highest box office actor, and he just kind of flipped his college career into something that's, super, successful. But I just don't know what Brittany Renner can tell these kids. When I was playing football at Bakersfield College, me having that mindset, and my mindset was similar to all the kids there. You primarily focused on, trying to be eligible to play sports and just kicking in with your friends, making sure you got your faculties in order to play on Saturday mornings or Saturday nights or whatever the case may be.
Right.
And Brittany Renner being an Instagram model or influencer or whatever, we're primarily thinking of sexual things.
That's it.
Yeah, she whatever, she could be up there talking to the whole team, and after we walk out of there, niggas would be like, "Dang, she bad. I'm trying to DM. Yeah, I'm gonna DM her when we get out." You know what I mean? It's not there's nothing that she can say that we're going to listen to. If it's a former athlete, or sometimes like some of the people that left BC will come back, or a dad or a parent, whatever, those people kind of come down and talk. Like Joey Porter was there for a minute. We're gonna listen to Joey Porter. He got Super Bowl ring and super successful, and Bakersfield legend and all this kind of stuff. So we're gonna rock with that. But for Brittany Renner to come down, and like you were saying, like Deion Sanders, he's like, I would deem him as like a player's coach, right?
Right.
So he has like this coolness about him.
Right. Yeah. Young Dolph there.
Yeah, but I think that you gotta walk the line, because when you're a young man, for as far as a coach, it's cool to do those things. It's cool to play the hip hop songs at practice and stuff like that. But when we look up to you, we want a separation. Yes. I don't want to look at my coach as like my peer, or like somebody I can kick it with. Somebody like Coach Sanders, like Coach Deion, let's go get some hoes. Like, you don't want to have that relationship. And even on, when I was playing at Bakersfield College, there were some of the assistant coaches that we felt that way about. So we're going to listen to them, and, we're not going to disrespect them, and we may be cool, or we may talk about things that are kind of outside the world of football, but the head coach or the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, they can't be those guys.
Hell no.
I mean? It's because that's...
and the caliber of people that you bring in and talk to the team, they don't have to all be celebrities or whoever. Like, let's say, for example, I become if I became the head coach at BHS. Mm-hmm. And let's say I had an ex-teammate, and now he's probably maybe homeless or on drugs or whatever, but he still has some mental faculties to him. If I bring that guy to the team, and he mentions how that was probably the highlight of his life and how you should cherish this moment or whatever the case, I think it's going to resonate with the players, because they can look at this ragged man that had an amazing experience at the school, you know what I mean, and learn from it. You don't have to be a celebrity or somebody. You could literally get motivation from a janitor.
Yeah.
It all comes down to being able to get the right energy around your players. This is just the wrong energy. Honestly, this is me over speculating. I think Deion wants to fuck her. And I think that he used this as like, I guess, a medium to get her to come around the facility. Because you think about it, dude, there's no reason why he's 54. Why would a 54-year-old man want a woman that's openly been hoeing and wrote a book about it around fucking players? Here's the biggest issue. I'm 36 years of age. If I was openly saying, like, you better hide your daughters, You know, and if I was making statements like I love fucking 18-year-olds, I can't. Right when they turn 18, that's when I fuck them. Right? If I said some shit like that, do you think they would allow me to speak to a college women's basketball team as a motivational speaker? Fuck no.
All those girls are lesbians, anyways.
Like I said, that ain't true. It's definitely a lot of lesbians
it's definitely some.
It's definitely some,
heterosexuals,
but it's some really beautiful women playing the game. But
yeah.
They would not want me anywhere near around a woman's facility if I wrote
you can't be saying
if
stuff
I wrote a book about fucking 18-year-old girls as soon as they turn 18, and then I was exploiting them and saying like they would not want me around. That's ridiculous. As men too, we got to stop allowing women to do that. We have to stop propping women up that do vile shit. But men, this is what happens when you. Deion was thinking with his dick, man. Because when you think it with your dick, you do dumb shit. And he's too old to be doing this. You're 54. Why do you have a chick that's like, I think she's like 30 or 29 or something like that?
Yeah, she's 29, I think. Or she might be turning 29 this year or something.
Yeah, so you got this 29-year-old chick that wrote a book about all the dicks she sucked, literally, in a book, and then talked about just all these sexcapades and how to trap athletes, meaning how to trap them is how to get them to have sex with you and have a baby by them. That is disgusting. And you allow this disgust in there?
And she's a baby mama. Like, her and PJ Washington are not even in a relationship.
That shit is wild, yo. And for a woman to have this type of following, like, this is not okay. It is not okay. Whether a man or a woman was doing it, but since a woman's doing it, it's acceptable. That shit is wild, yo. But
I just kind of like when you think about Deion Sanders, and Deion Sanders, he kind of walks this line of like, you know, even when he was a player, it was kind of like he operating outside of the team sometimes, like, you know, with the flashy pulling up in the cars and, you know, just the way he carries himself. He's obviously an amazing athlete.
Well, he said it was a character. That was
I think he thinks, I think he still genuinely feels like he's prime time. I can see that. I can see. I know there are some players that like, you know, they get on the field and they smash them heads and all this kind of stuff, and they get off and they're very professional and articulate themselves. But Deion is Deion. Like, you know, when he's on ESPN or these different sports channels and stuff like that, he has a confidence that he carries himself with. So it might have been some sort of character, but the way he talks about those times, like, that was just him. I don't think he was, you know. But I just think, like, it's just the thing that is unfortunate for me is that he has access to any athlete. If he wanted to call up Jerry Rice, wanted to call, especially Jerry Rice going to HBCU and stuff like that, or coming from a smaller school, Michael Irvin and all these guys that he works with and you know, played with and stuff like that. Like, these people are much more valuable than Brittany Renner. Yeah.
Right. There's so many people that could come and talk to these students. Like, I feel like, honestly, if I would love to address this new class of Bakersfield High School. And the reason why is because, you know, being just of 36 years of age, just to give them like some real world experiences and tell them like, hey man, a lot of you guys have no sense of direction. You're 17, turning 18. Once high school's over, all the fun and games are out the window. Like, giving them real accounts just and by the way, giving them real accounts as someone who has been in their shoes. So I have validity from a sense of I was once in your shoes and now I'm a grown man that has figured it out and is still figuring it out at the age of 36 years of age. And you can find someone comparable to talk to your team. Someone who was a player at once. You know, they were a football player trying to get the degree, trying to do all this shit. And now, but instead, you got an Instagram thought to talk to the fucking players. And the only thing she probably accomplished was getting their dicks hard while she was talking.
Yeah.
Get her out of the facility. I blame men a lot for this because we prop the wrong women up and give them a platform when they don't fucking deserve it. And it's probably a woman that has a business that's doing something positive, and we ignored her fucking ass and we go get an Instagram thought and put her on the fucking stage. That is so stupid.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty much
there's that. I don't got much else to say about this. I just think we got to do better. We got to do better. All right. Switching gears. Oh wow, I got a message from Flavor God. You ever heard of them seasoning? That'd be a good sponsor. Flavor God just sent me a message. Says, "Hi Eddie, today only free chicken and waffle seasoning with $50 plus from Flavor God." They got a chicken and waffle seasoning.
What is that?
It's like a low sodium, like a healthy seasoning.
For the chicken or for the waffles?
I don't know. It just says chicken and waffles.
Oh, okay.
So I assume it may have a little bit of chicken and waffles in it. I don't know. Maybe some
I was wondering that this morning too.
some chicken and waffle dust may be on it. I have no idea, Keith. All right, switching gears. Condoleezza Rice. Recently, Condoleezza Rice was having a conversation. I forgot what show she was on, but I'll be able to pull the article up right here. Condoleezza Rice. All right. Condoleezza Rice stokes critical race theory outrage. Former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice is taking aim at critical race theory as part of conservatives' ginned-up outrage toward the legal framework that isn't even taught in grade schools. Brittany Packett Cunningham and Michelle Goldberg discuss what the outrage is really about. Okay, no, that's not the one, because it's got a bunch of malarkey on there. I got two of them on there. What the hell? Jeez Louise. All right, let's go back. We got to go back and look up another article. See, that's what I hate. Sometimes they don't have the shit on there. Condoleezza Rice. I'm going to say this out loud. Condoleezza Rice. There we go.
That's what you say when you can't spell Condoleezza.
I can smell it, yeah, but the thing about it, I'm not going to sit here wasting my time trying to spell Condoleezza. that name, man, that name is like, come on. 2 days ago, Rice CRT proves stance she's foot soldier for white supremacy. No, that's not an objective article. It says Condoleezza Rice CRT stance proves she's a foot soldier for white supremacy. That's not an objective article.
I always hear you say that, but I don't think when you're the news it's supposed to be objective.
Yes.
But I think we're so far removed from objective news.
Yeah, we shouldn't be. Condoleezza Rice sounds off on education, tells between booty judge. Okay. Congratulations on your kids, said Rice, the director. It was a brief statement. Okay, fuck all this. I'll just bring it in myself. Basically, Condoleezza Rice was having a conversation about, they say CRT, which basically means critical race theory, and how it's, being taught in school. And she said that black students should embrace their blackness and be proud of it, but at the same time, they shouldn't make white kids feel bad for being white. Right? That is what Condoleezza Rice said. And I'll say this, I 100% agree with what she said. You shouldn't make current white people in America feel bad for the sins of people that from many years ago that look like them. However, it's kind of ironic because black people back in those days they were made like they were guilty for being black. So isn't that a interesting take? Right? My objective is not to chastise white people for what happened in the past, but the biggest comparison that black and white people have in today's world is they have both been cheated of the authentic history of America, because since America was written by the winners who happen to be white, stories of black people have not been properly shown throughout history. And white people are being cheated because they don't know anything about anything. The only thing they know is the bullshit that's in these textbooks. They don't know about black soldiers that fought in every world war that were not giving any medals of valor until even after they died, even when they died during service or as old men. There are still black men who fought in World War II who are barely getting medals of valor to this day because they were not recognized as black men. They didn't even get to wear the same uniform as white soldiers. Black soldiers were not able to use the GI Bill when they came back to America. So they couldn't get proper education or housing and they fought in the same wars as white soldiers. So these are things that are not taught in school. And what the sad thing about it is, me, as a 36-year-old black guy, this is probably the first time some people are hearing this type of history. Mm-hmm. The fact that the Tulsa Race Massacre they're literally in court fighting over whether it should be in books or not.
That sounds crazy.
So you mean to tell me this huge part of American history, which paints white people in a bad light, is not being put in there? Black people were the first victims of domestic terrorism. They got bombed in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1921, and it is not in any history books. Mm-hmm. This is nuts. And there's so many stories that are not being told. And it's not just about black despair, but black history. There are black inventors and creators who never got their just due. Mm-hmm. A lot of them had to create pen names just so they didn't be shown as black. Mm-hmm. A lot of white people don't know that black people, none of us have real names. We all have fake names. These names were given to us by slave masters. We didn't come over here as Keith and Eddie. Our names was Ashigawadamadamniga, or whatever it was. We have fake names that were given to us by white slave masters. Mm-hmm. Not to mention, like, there are so many intricate details in regards to that go outside of slavery. I think that when people reference the worst thing that happened to black people, they go to slavery and they stop there. But dude, it's so much more after that. Mm-hmm. So much housing discrimination, segregation, Jim Crow laws, redlining, all kinds of shit. And nobody would ever know it because nobody taught it in school. And then what happens is, and this is no fault of white people, is that when they get older, they're like, hey, I wasn't raised to hate black people. I'm not a hateful person. Mm-hmm. But the unfortunate thing is, these same white people that are not racist, that are not bigots, they don't know shit about black people. They are oblivious. They are culturally clueless because America did an amazing job of making them oblivious to black success, pain, or just history in general. They know nothing. Mm-hmm. Nothing. And it's fucked up. And you want to talk about critical race theory? Change the name to history. That's all it is history.
Yeah. I don't know who came up with the term critical race theory, but that's just semantics, and it's right. It's almost like to defund the police movement,
right?
You know, we understand the power of language, and then we also have this idea that, you know, contextually, when you say certain words in a certain order, it can either anger somebody or it can make somebody happy in a sense. So I think that I agree with you. The critical race theory, it's a bunch of multi-syllable words that, you know, that can trigger somebody. So we have to update it. And it's not a critical race theory. It's just, you know, what happened.
It's history.
Yeah. So I think my stance on it is, I think that Condoleezza Rice is just pandering. You know what I mean?
That's all it is.
It's that ideology is something that, you know, obviously she heard from a community of people, and she's just kind of piggybacking off of, you know, some statements she's heard you know, through the airwaves or whatever. But even the going back to the Tulsa Race Massacre, even going back to that, I think that the massacre is obviously like an important part of that story. But I genuinely think for black people, the most important part of that story is knowing that there was a huge community of extremely, extremely wealthy black people that took up, you know, a huge block of Tulsa. And I think for me, and my history with that idea is my brother introducing that to me as far as like the Black Wall Street and stuff like that. I think that for a kid growing up in Bakersfield and knowing that, you know, how successful we can be, knowing that we are, or we may have grown up in poverty or whatever, but there are people that look like us that are successful businessmen. They own theaters, they own barbershops, they own, you know, maybe a record store or something like that. And this is not the the ceiling for us, just being broke or working these minimum wage jobs, that we can go out
Right.
there, be successful, and be own businesses and stuff like that. I think that message, knowing the despair in that situation is important, but knowing the power or the capabilities that we have as Black people, to me, is more important. And for that story or that narrative to only really be reintroduced in 2020, 2021, 2019, we're doing a disservice to, the community. I mean, not to only white people, but to Black kids too.
Yeah.
For us to not know.
A lot of us don't know this shit.
Yeah, for us to not know our successful inventors and not know the stories of George Washington Carver and all these people that kind of are not the American idols of civil rights and inventions and stuff like that. Like it kind of puts us in a place to where you really sit in your projects or your apartment as a young Black kid, and it's wintertime and you standing by the stove and all this kind of stuff, and you really think that that's the end of it for you. Like me, being 40 years old, working the same job, living in the same projects, and kind of just barely making ends meet. When all the inspiration you may have needed was
through
looking
history.
looking at a Ben Carson, looking at a George Washington Carver, looking at different civil rights activists and musicians and all these different things something that you can look at and is like, yo, this person looks like me. This person is from the same place that I'm from, and they're successful, so I could do the same thing.
Yeah, what's weird too is people in this country they act like they're so patriotic, right? But the unfortunate thing is you've been lied to so much. I seen somebody that was so patriotic that they were driving down the street with an American flag and then they had a Confederate flag next to it, but not realizing
that don't make no sense.
That you're so fucking stupid that flag, they seceded the U.S. and fought against the United States, you fucking moron.
Yeah.
People so stupid. They just create these narratives that are not real. That's
anti-American.
That's anti-American to fly that flag. They're traitors and losers. They fucking lost. Mm-hmm. If you actually understood the historical context behind that and the cornerstone speech, you would understand it's not just a flag. That flag fought to preserve slavery. It's a fact. Okay? But let's not even get into that. Fuck all that. People claim to be so patriotic, they don't even know the first person to die for America was a Black man named Crispus Attucks. Crispus Attucks was an American whaler sailor, stevedore of African Native American descent, generally regarded as the first person killed in the Boston Massacre and thus first American killed in the American Revolution. So the first person to shed blood was a Black man, and they never taught you that in school. Why not? Mm-hmm. Think about it. Like usually it's a lie by omission. Mm-hmm. It's like they did amazing. Being racist in those days was as American as apple pie, right? And people say like, oh my God, I don't believe in systemic racism and I don't believe in this and I don't believe in that and blah, blah, blah. Well, how can you form a belief in something when you don't know shit?
Yeah. Like
you don't know shit, man. Like being as I've done research on the United States and all the things that have happened, I seen a story and oh my goodness, I feel so bad for not remembering, but it was a Mexican immigrant that served in World War II and he was literally fighting for his citizenship and he got a Medal of Valor. He got the Purple Heart. He got shot in the line of duty and he saved a bunch of people's lives, a bunch of people's lives. In 1947, he got citizenship, but then not too long after that, he was refused service at a restaurant and beaten with baseball bats. This is you got to understand, you can't invalidate these things by saying, ooh, that was so long ago. Mm-hmm. Ooh, it was so long ago that happened. Dude, there are residual effects from the mistreatment of people in this country. By the way, Black people or people who look like me and Keith have never had the power to say blacks only. We've never had the power to say white people can only sit in this part of the bus. We've been given directions. We've never been the directors. Mm-hmm. Not one time. And people say, well, what about Obama? But Obama ain't. We are living in a progressive time where there's no black hierarchy that controls what you eat, where you go, what you do. Black people had to live through all that shit, man. I've heard horror stories. By the way, we could talk about how long ago this was and slavery and this and that. But my grandfather who passed away, who was 86 years old when he passed, was born in 1933. The last interview of a slave was in 1933. They did an interview with a slave who outlived slavery in 1933, and that's when my grandfather was born, and I'm only 36 years old. That is how long ago slavery was not. It ended in 1865, but they still had slaves, not knowing they were slaves for what, two more years? This is disgusting, and it's not taught in school on purpose.
Yeah. To me, the idea of critical race theory or whatever being disrespectful is it's not disrespectful. It's like you were saying, it's just history. It's the truth. I think Charlemagne says this. He says, the truth can't be disrespectful. And I don't wholeheartedly agree with that idea, but but there is something to that, to where I feel like this freaking ceiling is going to cave in, and we're going to catch it on podcast one day.
That's pessimistic. Keep going.
But yeah, so the idea of like, if someone is articulating this idea that, you know, we were captured in Africa and brought over to America, and if you are a person that deems that is disrespectful, I'm not sure how you could, and we're not supposed to tell people how to feel, but if you feel that way, you're an idiot.
Yeah, right.
Because that's just what happened. You know what I mean? How could you feel disrespected about, and you're not even attached to that. Maybe you had ancestors, or maybe you, you know, however many 6, 7, 8 generations ago, whatever the case may be, those were, you know, your families that owned slaves or whatever, but you're not that person. You know what I mean? So I don't know how a person, an 18, 19-year-old kid in college, or a 16-year-old kid in high school or whatever can look at that and you feel like we are being disrespectful towards you because we're teaching something.
It's hypersensitivity and white guilt. You shouldn't feel guilty for something you had nothing to do with.
Yeah. If that's not if you didn't do that, then it should be good.
It's not on you. And in no way, like, I'm not saying this to chastise white people, but what I am saying, though, is that when Condoleezza Rice makes a statement like, yo, you shouldn't make white people feel bad for, you know, just being white, I could agree with that, but I could also agree that there was a time that black people felt guilty just for being black because they couldn't do shit. So they had to go through that. The very least you could do is listen and try to fucking learn. And people say shit like, oh, I don't see color. I don't see color. I'm not. No, you need to see color. You need to see color, and you need to see culture. I don't just see Mexican people. I see their culture and I respect it. There's a difference. We didn't grow up the same. White people, black, Mexicans, Indians, whoever, we did not grow up the same. So you can't say you don't see color. You should see color.
And being colorblind is whack.
That's ridiculous. You'd be like a blind dog or something, right? So you should see color and respect it and know that we don't grow up the same. You should learn other people's culture and actually organically and respectfully do it. It is okay to see color. We did not grow up the same. You didn't use the same hair products on your hair that I did. You didn't eat the same food that I ate coming up. You don't go to the same, I won't say rituals, but you don't go to the same cultural experiences that I do. Like, as a black man, you don't experience quinceañeras or whatever. That's from another culture, but you acknowledge it. You know what it means. So I think that we should all be doing that instead of living in this fake world where we say, I don't see color. Motherfucker, yes, you do. When you go out to a Mexican restaurant to get tacos, you acknowledge that part of their culture, don't you? Then why don't you recognize the other shit, the more important things? Why don't you acknowledge the struggle and the history of Latinos? And when I'm talking about Latino, I'm talking about all of it, whether it's the Zoot Suit riots back in World War II. Did you know in Los Angeles, a lot of sailors were, I guess they were, what do you call it? Placed there, or what do they call it? They were sent there for a while. And back then, a lot of Latinos or Chicanos, they wore zoot suits. It was just part of the culture. They just liked to be fly. And at that time, there was some type of deal with wool, where wool was like the price of it, or there was some conflict somewhere. So it was considered like anti-patriotic to wear wool suits or anything with wool in them. So what they would do is they would find Latinos that had the suits, strip them naked, beat them up, and burn the suits. This was happening all over Los Angeles. If you don't believe me, look up the Zoot Suit riots. So this happened, World War II was in the 40s. So it was a lot of Chicanos getting beat up for no fucking reason. And that's not an American, and it was sailors doing this. Servicemen beating them up. There's another thing that with the Battle of Bamber Bridge. Let me explain this and give it context so people really understand what this is about. Battle of Bamber Bridge. The Battle of Bamber Bridge was an outbreak of racial violence between black and white Americans. So Americans that were supposed to be fighting together, black and white, got in a fight against each other.
It's like Anthony Davis and Dwight Howard.
That shit is wild, bro. Look, it don't stop there. Servicemen stationed in British village of Bamber Bridge, Lancashire in 1943, the incident which occurred a few days after 1943 Detroit race riot was started when a white military police attempted to arrest several African Americans from the racially segregated 115th 115th Quartermaster Truck Regiment at the Yeode Hobbin Public House in Bamber Bridge. And they had a gun battle. After the arrival of more military police armed with machine guns, black soldiers armed themselves with rifles from their base armory. Both sides exchanged fire through the night. One black soldier was killed and several MPs and soldiers killed, although court-martial convicted 32 African-American soldiers of mutiny and related crimes. Poor leadership and racist attitudes among MPs was blamed as the case. So only black soldiers got arrested. This is the shit they don't teach you in school. And it's for a reason, because it makes America look bad for how racist it was towards people of color. Okay? Now, by me saying this, it's not saying, hey, you listening to the podcast, you're racist. No, I'm saying that this is some shit you need to know when you see the landscape of America and you see black people that are saying certain things. Now, granted, there are some black people that do be super dramatic. But there are some black people who are level-headed that try to have conversations, and people just say, black people just always got to be oppressed. It's the oppressed Olympics. Here they come with the oppressed Olympics. It's like, motherfucker, this shit is generational trauma passed down to other kids.
Yeah.
You know? And he goes on and on. I don't think people are familiar with Emmett Till. The story of Emmett Till, that happened prior to... And I'll read that one off too, just to give this whole conversation context. Okay. Here it is. Woman linked to 1955, Emmett Till tells his story and claims her were false. For 6 decades, she had been silent. A woman linked to one of the most notorious crimes in the nation's history, the lynching of Emmett Till, a 14-year-old black boy, keeping her thoughts and memories to herself as millions of strangers idealized or vilified her. But all these years later, a historian says that the woman has broken her silence and acknowledged that the most incendiary parts of the story she and others told about Emmett Till claims that seemed tame today, but were more than enough to get a black person killed in the Jim Crow era in Mississippi were false. So she lied and said that this boy was whistling at her. And then her husband at the time, and some people got together and killed and beat Emmett Till till his face swole up, right? The man that killed Emmett Till was released because he went to a jury of his peers who were all white men. They released him. No one was charged for the crime, and his mother mourned. And there is a historical picture of Emmett Till's mother leaving his casket open to show what racism did to her child. It is in the history books. But, that's not taught in school either. It's not taught in school where people group together like it was a movie and watch black people getting hung from trees. That's not in school either. And the thing about it, man, is this is the dark side of America that wasn't that long ago that people of color have went through. And when they try to express it, they're told that, you're just being full of it, man. Everybody has the same opportunities now. There's no racism anymore. Mm-hmm. When you don't experience anything like that, man, or your lineage or family hasn't, then it's not much you really just try to learn it, man.
Yeah. I mean, the worst thing is just to have a closed mind.
That's
in these
ridiculous.
Cases. It's the same conversation we always have about like if you're if you're talking about it like a Little Nas X or something like that, and you're saying, oh, it's not that bad. Like you're not experiencing any sort of
Right.
hate online or anything like that. But then if you're really looking at what's going on in the world, you got a guy like Lil Boosie that's out here calling him homophobic slurs and wishing death upon him primarily because of his sexuality.
Right.
So I just think that we, not only white people, not only Mexicans, not only black people, but overall, like we have to do a better job of, knowing about our history. Like
Right.
America is supposed to be this melting pot. But the history that we learn about primarily is, the exciting white history.
That's
like,
it.
and when you hear a lot of these stories that we do have in the history books, it's always going to paint whomever in the best light.
Right.
Like there's literally a Columbus Day. You know what I mean?
crazy.
Like we're celebrating someone who caused an entire ethnicity of people like so much harm. You know what I mean? And this is just the nature of it. Like we can, especially in elementary school, and it doesn't have to be this this dark historic lesson, you know what I mean? But
Right.
there's a way to introduce, and we learned about Columbus maybe in like elementary school or something like that. It doesn't have to be about rape and all these kind of things, but just I think that there just needs to be an authenticity to it.
Yeah.
Just tell the story that happens, and you don't have to, make it so vulgar or whatever, but just say like, hey, these are the things that happens. These Catholic missions that we're going to see in elementary school, they were enslaving people here and forcing them to
Right.
be Christians. You know what I mean?
Right.
And not try to paint it in a way where, oh, this is like this beautiful, Catholic, thing that's going on
Yeah.
here. Like just the authenticity. So when that, 10, 11-year-old kid grows up, they are
Yeah.
just more aware of these things, and they're not blindsided by, some Google article that they seen or whatever.
Yeah, man. It's nuts that it's almost like it's intentional stupidity, because I think some people are afraid that if they learn something else, it would update the way they look at it. Mm-hmm. And people don't want to change the way they look at it. They just want to say, oh, God, black people, this is the oppression Olympics. Here they come.
People are afraid of information.
They do that to themselves. That's why they live in the ghetto. That's why they live in the ghetto, because they do it to themselves.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's the rationale? That's what I want to know. Mm-hmm. And why do you think the landscape of every major city is the same when it comes to ghettos that they're predominantly black and brown? Is it just that white people are so much smarter and they know how to invest their money and they know where to live? And
I'm smarter than a lot of people that have more money than me.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. What people don't realize is that when you talk about something such as redlining, they're just like, oh, God, here you go. Redlining was the biggest giveaway in America. It was the biggest handout to white people just for being white in American history. You don't believe me? Look it up.
The most valuable thing we can have is property.
Yeah, and real estate was given away. And also, make sure you look up in the dictionary white flight. Whenever you had a black person that actually was able to move to the suburbs, a bunch of white people moved out. Mm-hmm. And this created the landscape of suburbs all over the world. So if you're white and you got a bunch of white neighbors, you ain't got hardly no Mexican or no black neighbors at all, it's not because people are underachieving. They're trying to overcome years of systemic racism. Mm-hmm. That's all it is. And people say, well, we all have the same opportunities. That's a fact. We all have the same opportunities. But when your lineage for over 60 plus years didn't have anything to pass down to the next generation, ultimately someone has to be an outlier and a generational curse breaker in order to just literally rewrite the whole family history. If you don't have an outlier, then you're going to have a bunch of passed down poverty. Mm-hmm. And that's what goes on. Mm-hmm. And we need to do a better job of really getting this information out there, man, because it's downright sad that we don't know it. And by the way, I haven't known this for that long. I've probably only for the last few years I learned a lot of it. Mm-hmm. But it's like, fuck, man. Like, this needs to be taught. I had a point I wanted to. Oh, can you imagine if we didn't know the rich history of America? Meaning, when you talk about the war and, the North versus the South, and, we talk about our forefathers, and, we talk about, we have the 4th of July, all these things. Can you imagine if we didn't learn those things, right? That's how black people feel when no one learns anything about our history. What I mean by our history, I mean American history. I'm not just saying black history. I'm talking about history that happen to be black people involved, but in the United States. So we are all being cheated of the history we all should be learning.
Yeah.
Based on the fact that it was intentional suppression of information.
Yeah.
That is a problem. It just doesn't sit right with me, man.
Yeah. And it just goes on and on and on, to where if we don't change this, then your grandkid or your great-grandchild is not going to be aware of the history of, it's just American history, you know what I mean? It's
That's
not
all it
black
is.
history, it's just American history, because as soon as we step foot on this land, we become that. We become American history, so.
Yeah, that is exactly what it is. I don't want to miss anything. I had another point I wanted to make. Just to give this whole thing.
I gotta use the restroom.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll guess. Hopefully, you'll be back before we close it out.
Oh, you got to. I'll be out.
All right. Yeah. Keeps running. Always peeing on himself. Oh my God. He's got urine going down his pants. Shit. All right. Well. Where is it at? Okay. Well, look, ultimately what I will say is this. I just think that there is so much history, not just from black people. We don't want to just make it about black people. But I feel when you talk about something such as critical race theory, I think that a lot of people are being snubbed. There's a lot of Mexican, a lot of Latinos that did not get their just due, and no one knows about the courageous and great things they did in World War II. There are people in World War II that came from Mexico that literally fought for citizenship, man. They literally fought for this country, and now you got the whole build a wall and, keep them out, blah, 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 blah. But these same people fought for citizenship in World War II, and when they got out, they got refused service from a restaurant and hit with baseball bats. And I'm just not okay with that. I'm not okay with people not knowing about that. I think it's good to see the progression of America. America has definitely progressed for sure. I think we've done a great job of learning more about people, but I still think we have a whole lot to work on. I feel like America is a great country, but it still needs work. And ultimately, that's my thing. Damn, Keith, that was the fastest piss that I've ever recorded.
I feel like I was in there for a long time.
Man, that was quick, man. I barely got to get a sentence out. You came right back.
Yeah.
I said, basically, critical race theory, and Keith was running back in the fucking door.
Yeah.
He still had his zipper down. I'm like, come on, man. We gotta go on the YouTube, dude. You can't be doing that. You're gonna flag the video.
When I was in there, you know how you got to use the bathroom really bad, after you maybe on a road trip or something like that, and you pull over to the side of the road, or you go to a bathroom at a gas station or something like that, and it's just one of the, like your normal leak is like 20 seconds, and if you've been holding it for a long time, you might be peeing for like 45 seconds or like 50 seconds or something. That's what that one felt like. So I was like, dang, man, it's taking a lot longer than I wanted it to.
Yeah, well, at least it wasn't me like that one day when I had to shit like 4 times for the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
That was terrible, man.
We're at the runs.
I felt terrible, man. Inside of my stomach felt like critical race theory.
You had a Tulsa massacre in your stomach.
I had a segregation dookie. Yeah, man, we're gonna go ahead and close it up, man.
Mm-hmm.
Not a whole lot else to really talk about, but
yeah.
I feel like I really hope that when we mention these things on here, we don't like to mention race and things like that all the time. Mm-hmm. But I really hope that it kind of sparks curiosity in the people to listen to this content.
Yeah.
Just so they could go look it up for themselves and not listen to me, because me and Keith talking about it might make us look like 2 biased black guys just up here trying to get a message out, when in actuality, we're objectively speaking about this history.
Yeah.
Because it is just history.
But even with that, I would hope you understand our tone of the podcast, like sometimes we can be critical of, Black people. We can be critical of people that look like us, or certain protests and stuff like that, or riots and those kind of things. We can look at it from a objective point of view. So when we are speaking about Black history in that sense, or history that is being left out, this is real stuff, and we're experiencing in 2021 the byproduct of a lot of that stuff.
100%.
You know what I mean?
We don't want you to feel attacked. We want you to feel empowered.
Yeah.
Exactly. Empowered with information that you can reference and look up on your own. Mm-hmm. But that's all I got. You got anything else, Keith?
No, that's pretty much it.
Well,
sorry to cut you off, but
how you gonna say that's it? Needs to start talking.
I don't know. But as a majority white person in America, information about someone else that is in your community, or someone else's history that you may work with or whatever, it can't hurt you in any capacity.
100%.
You know what I mean? If you actually looked at the logistics of what this is doing, to learn about a Cesar Chavez, or to learn about a Malcolm X, or whatever, Black civil rights leaders and stuff like that, that can't hurt you in any way. But what it can do is it can make you more aware of the people that you're working with, the people that are your neighbors and stuff like that. And it can only help you, communicate with them better and understand them on a deeper level versus the criminal over there. Like, and even for me, like, I have a strained relationship with my dad. But when I realized that he is only a byproduct of his parents, who are only a byproduct of their parents and all this kind of stuff, and he's just operating the only way he knows how, I was able to look at him differently. So if you are whether you have this idea that Black people are just, they're bringing this on themselves and police brutality is their fault and all this kind of stuff, if you actually looked at all those stories that Eddie had mentioned, and you started to connect the dots, you would see like, oh, Eddie and Keith are sitting here in their certain economic status as a byproduct of, household discrimination and, the ghetto loans and all these different things. And, as they sit there currently, this is just the cards they were handed. So that's pretty much it.
Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, I think... like I mentioned, I don't want to reiterate the same points over and over, but yeah, man, if you made it this far, we appreciate you taking the time to really listen and not tune out, because that's the people we want listening to this podcast. People who take the time to, actually absorb information instead of deny it. Because if you're going to deny information, you could just go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Go to some place that affirms your belief. We're not here to affirm anyone's belief.
Yeah.
But anyways, if you made it to the end of this podcast, we appreciate you. Thank you for listening to a Trucker's Mind podcast. I'm Eddie McGee.
It's your boy K Fings.
We're out of here.
Peace.